Hi, I'm Asia and this is the Caucasus podcast published by Języcznie Kaukazu, Languages of the Caucasus, which is one of the very few places in the world where you can learn Georgian, Armenian and Azerbaijani. And today we are talking about very important topic. Is Georgian a difficult language? Because many people say that Georgian is a difficult one and you cannot learn Georgian. It is impossible if you are a foreigner. And in my opinion, these both sentences and statements are not true. And in today's episode, I will tell you why I think so. And let's see, maybe you'll change your mind as well. So in May this year, so in 2025, I was participating in a debate about Georgian literature that was in Poland in Gdańsk, and the host Natalia quoted one of my Facebook posts about Georgian not being a difficult language. By the way, to be honest, I felt like a celebrity whose posts were being quoted, and thank you very much, Natalia, for this. And also had the chance to talk why I do not agree with all of these statements saying that Georgia is difficult language, etc., which, to my surprise, was very surprising for the audience, and I got lots of questions about this. So I thought, let's talk about this also in the Caucasus podcast. Georgian, many people say Georgian seems difficult, and one of the reasons for that is due to the scarcity of material, study books, etc. It is precisely the very small number of good materials, modern study books, and simple and accessible like group classes, online courses, etc., that make Georgian seem difficult to us, foreigners. So comparing to the number of materials available, for example, in English, to study English, because maybe for you as well, English is not a native language, or Spanish or German, etc. And if you compare it with Georgian, it's like comparing the ocean to a glass of water. The most critical, I would say, and scarce materials and study books are for these ones who just want to start, so for the beginners of Georgian language, namely those like starting with the alphabet and then the first sentences, etc. And this is one of the reasons I started, for example, preparing my own study materials, and that fast forward over 10 years till today, and lots of iterations with these materials. And then you have available Georgian textbooks on our website on językniekaukazu.pl. For those of you unfamiliar with us, because maybe you are listening to this podcast for the first time, Języcznie Kaukazu, Languages of the Caucasus, and the Caucasus podcast, this is something that we do, and I'm the owner of it, and I would just add that I learned Georgian as a foreigner because I have no Georgian roots whatsoever. No one among my friends, in my neighborhoods, in the family speaks Georgian, because also this is a question I get a lot. So it was easier for you because maybe your father, grandfather, friend or whomever, spoken and they were speaking Georgian. No, I started from the beginning, from the alphabet, as already being an adult. So I'm more or less in the same situation as you are. I have also no linguistic skills as such and whatsoever. And my parents, who tried to encourage me to learn English and German in a primary school, they can confirm it, really. Because to be honest, cleaning my room that time was already much more appealing to me. And also, by the way, let's add that I do hate learning by heart. So just having the words I need to practice and study and put somehow into my head, I hate it, truly. So, however, with all that, Georgian is the fourth language I've learned. And I already, till that time, I was speaking English, German and Russian. And one of the reasons why I managed to do that, because I figured out a way how to do it, and that it will be much easier, let's say, for people like me, and also for busy people who then as an adult, it is very hard to learn, let's say, school style. I currently know 8 more or less in total, of course, on different level of fluency, including into this Korean. I'm learning right now 2 more. So I'm saying that not to brag, but just say that I have some comparison with different languages and different study materials, and I know some tips and tricks, let's say, how you can learn easier and faster. So that is the reason why I also want to share my perspective, let's say, on Georgian not being that difficult to learn. So coming back to Georgian and its supposed complexity, if you're initially confronted with the new alphabet, then suddenly presented with various random sentences looking strangely, more or less advanced, Georgian may seem difficult. I will admit that, because I hear the stories like that also from our students that come to our group courses or individual lessons as well, and they are not starting like totally from the beginner. They had some, let's say, history with already learning Georgian, and I know that not always, let's say, the start is as smooth as it can be. But if you are presented like alternative, let's say, route, if you are presented with the alphabet, then you get a very simple sentences that you can understand and the rules in it. Then you get one rule to practice, and then another one only when you already mastered the first one. Then Georgian turns out to be not as difficult as they say, and it is manageable, and then it is fun, it appears. But as mentioned, the lack of materials is one of the reasons I also started creating my own exercises, programs, and ways to explain Georgian grammar that you don't have to be, let's say, linguistic specialist to get at. And it turns out it works. Because over the last, let's say, 8 years, more or less, our dropout rate has diminished and lowered by over more or less 70%, precisely because of the language complexities. So we have over 70% less people deciding to stop learning because they think Georgian is difficult. And there are different reasons. I will be talking about this in the next episode of the Caucasus podcast, because you also asked me to tell why people decide to stop learning Georgian, Armenian, and Azerbaijani. We have data for that. We have our experience. So for that, we will talk in the next episode of the Caucasus podcast. But in general, I can already tell you that this is not like the reasons because they think language is so difficult. Georgian seems difficult when you try to learn everything at once. So Georgian is often said to be a difficult language by people who don't fully measure their strengths, and they want to like grasp everything at once and all the complexities, etc. Just give it to me and I will embrace it. Often, maybe they are not doing that on purpose, but because of the textbooks that they are using or the study methods, for example, they are given, and they are not making that easy for them. Because Georgian, like most languages, requires regular learning also over time. So you learn a little bit, you revise, you repeat, you learn a little bit more, you add it, etc. So this is the whole process. Something that I also built for our students, and our other lecturers and tutors also incorporate that into the classes. And you won't really become fluent and understand everything you're hearing Georgian just after spending, let's say, a dozen or so hours with the vocab app that you're clicking and using different words and playing games, etc. just by this, or just being in Georgia and absorbing the Georgian language. Not really. And to be honest, this is also something that is not working with any other language, at least any other language that I know. And I can tell you that with English, it is also the same, that you have to spend some time. Maybe we are not remembering that already because English is everywhere. So we are starting very young, let's say, getting to know English a little bit at least. But with any other language, this is the pattern. So if you assume you'll just start with saying simple sentences, understanding separate words, and then building on this linguistic skills, then it turns out really that language successes in Georgian come often and very quickly. For example, students who join our online courses and they think at the beginning that Georgian is a very difficult one, but okay, Asha, you said maybe it won't be that hard, so let's try. Then almost always, after some lessons, they ask us, oh, it is easy or much easier than I thought. And will it continue to be this way, not so dramatically complicated? And after a few weeks and months, they are surprised that it's much, much easier than expected. And they also can start and participate in some simple conversations. They can read everything, etc. About the pace as well in learning Georgian, I think we will have a separate material because this is also the question I get a lot. How much time do I need, etc. So we will focus on it in the other episode soon. But let's come back to the one of the last parts, why people think that Georgian is difficult. Georgian seems difficult because it is unlike anything else. This is one of the arguments also I hear a lot. And this isn't true, to be honest. And there are many similarities to lots of other languages, but maybe sometimes from the European perspective, let's say, it is not always to those languages that we are taught in schools. And paradoxically, there are also some similarities and more similarities with English, also because of the globalization, among others. And Georgian has also many international words, which are very useful. And we start, for example, at the courses when we start with the alphabet, we start also with this word. So let me give you some of the examples. For example, the word for tourist, this is turisti. The word for museum, this is muzeumi. And the word for lamp, this is lampa. Yeah? So it is not that completely different, isn't it? But the fact is, and I won't be lying here and adding anything that is untrue, grammatically speaking, Georgian has parts that are unlike many modern Indo-European languages. And the key to success, like meaning being fluent in Georgian to the extent that you want and need. And this is tested at how, I would say, already hundreds of students, is to mentally detach yourself from English or maybe your modern tongue, if it's not English, detach from its grammar and open, let's say, your mind and yourself to 3 or 4 rules that are unusual to these Indo-European languages or majority of Asian languages, I would say as well, but fundamental to Georgian. And then these rules appear also to be incredibly logical too. Yes. So the other, I think the last one for today, reason why people think that Georgian is difficult, they say that Georgian is difficult. And as a result, as a proof for that, is that so few foreigners speak it and can talk in Georgian. So Georgian was difficult to learn because there are and have been few available courses, online courses, and good teachers, good study materials, etc. And I, on purpose, deliberately said and used the past tense. So it was difficult because, among others, with the development of our courses and creation of our study methods, and I may tell you that right now it is gradually changing. It doesn't mean that we are the only ones, of course, in the world teaching Georgian, but I can tell only about my courses and the success rate of my students and our students, because I have the data for that. So I can tell you that looking at the successes, linguistic successes of our students and our clients, and we have the clients and students from already 5 different continents, I may say that it is changing, and there are more and more foreigners speaking Georgian, and learning Georgian has never been so easy as it is right now. For example, our students learn not only from our main textbooks and study materials that we prepare for the lessons, but also we use a little bit, let's say, fun parts like comic books, graphic novel-like style, crosswords, different interactive exercises that you can do as a revision, and many, many more. Of course, we also tackle grammar and look at grammar and practice it in a way that it will be from different angles and something that you already can incorporate to your daily speaking, reviews, etc. Of course, when needed. Yeah, because it is grammar. We have to learn grammar as well, because without learning these few rules that I mentioned, it's impossible to speak and understand Georgian language. And I hope that to some extent I showed you the situation, and one of the reasons, maybe just to add why I mentioned it before, so the study materials, the learning methods, these cause some people to give up, because it was very hard. And right now it's you have to look for let's say good teachers, good books. And some people also, when hearing from others this rumor that Georgian is so difficult, they avoid starting, even it's out of fear that, it won't be possible. I heard it also in the meeting that I mentioned at the beginning, in this debate about Georgian language, when I was also talking from my experience, say, as a translator of from Georgian to Polish of some literature. I heard that, I heard Georgian is so difficult, so I decided it is really not possible even to start, so I decided not to. Yeah, so then after what I know, after the meeting, this person changed their minds and started looking at the possibilities of learning Georgian. So the lack of Georgian philology, also, by the way, in the world, anywhere outside Georgia, because I'm checking also that more or less each and every year, where anything new. I know there are some here and there some short Georgian language courses, but there is nothing as such like becoming Georgian philology, for example, to have masters in it outside Georgia. And in Georgia, it is, from what I know right now, the moment that we are also recording this episode, this is just for Georgians, so for Georgian natives. So it is a little bit different than from the perspective of a foreigner starting, let's say, from scratch, already being an adult. And also this situation is not helping, to be honest, because if there we had more specialists, we had like more, let's say, vibrant community of people from different languages, etc. However, we are doing our best with what we can, and I also using my experience, like say, into that. I hope that I'm helping into developing these possibilities for you. So, as to said, for example, my example, maybe that would be interesting for you a little bit. I put some of my own money to learning Georgian, of course, because I'm still learning Georgian all the time. A lot of determination, and I would say lots of my free time into my studies of Georgian language, because, as I mentioned, there is nothing at universities at this extent, and no courses that are free of charge, etc. I do this so that more or less also you don't have to. And I'm trying, let's say, to make it then as easy for you as it is possible. Especially if you're just starting, because I remember when I was starting and it was completely different situation. And right now I talked about it in the previous episode more about how I started learning Georgian as well. And in Języki Kaukazu, in our company, we are creating also the study programs using our knowledge of Georgian language, to me and my team. My expertise also in teaching, let's call it busy adults. And because I'm also a business trainer, and I have some experience and also been cooperating with, among others, international corporations. So I know the drill. I know the methods. It was tested on not only, let's say, language, but other fields. And then I can transfer it to learning Georgian in easy way that is adjusted to you being an adult and not being able to study as you were at school. And adding to that as well, my perspective of foreigner learning Georgian. Yeah, so then from this angle, I can tell you about the difficulty of learning Georgian. So currently, to this point about the foreigners learning, currently more and more people outside Georgia speak Georgian and learn it, even though I would say we are quite scattered across the cities, countries, or even continents. But the very fact that my lessons, so the lessons when I teach Georgian at the beginner's level, my timetable is full. And we have waiting lists even for courses, for individual classes, etc. So it already shows that more and more foreigners are learning Georgian. And it makes me so happy because I do believe that it's not something, if you want to learn, if you want to go to Georgia, if you want to get to know Georgian culture better, to learn language, this is something like an essential thing to do, at least at beginner's level. So here are my arguments, and here are the reasons why I think Georgian is not as difficult as they say. I hope I've managed to show you also my perspective, maybe let's call it the other side of the rumor, of the myth that many people say about the complexity and difficulty of Georgian. And it's, I would say, not much really harder to learn it than any other language I can think of from the perspective of how Georgian is, what are the Georgian rules, what are the grammatical parts of this language, etc. The reasons why it may seem harder. This is more study materials, textbooks, study programs, etc. The way how we show this. As with any other language, of course, you don't learn it within, let's say, a week or a day, and you just wake up and say, oh, I started yesterday and today I'm speaking Georgian fluently. No, it's not possible. And of course, it is not possible with any other language in the world. Or at least I don't know something. At least from what I know, that it is impossible. And it really just takes time and practice and good study materials and a good teacher and good program. And then speaking Georgian with your family, with your friends, using Georgian during your trips. It is completely within your possibilities and capabilities. No matter, I also hear it from time to time, no matter your age, no matter how much time do you have during the week, it is a matter of adjusting the program to your possibilities. So, you know my opinion, but of course, I invite you to the discussion. We don't have to agree, but let's talk about it. You can share also your thoughts also in the comments in the podcasting app, because some of the podcasting apps, they have possibilities like that. You can put it also on YouTube if you are listening to this on YouTube, or you can just drop me an email or DM in our social media. But if you want to drop me an email, the best way also for you is to join, if you are not, our newsletter community. So the Caucasian Mail, this is for free. And each and every week, I do send you a tested, quick and easy method for more or less 5 minutes revision so that you can do short revision during a coffee break, commuting to work, cooking dinner, or just having 5 spare minutes. And then it is also impossible. It is really possible to learn Georgian in this short amount of time, just to have a system. Of course, if you want to start or come back to learning Georgian, go to our website. That would be the easiest. So go to języcznikaukazu.pl, and the link for both newsletter community and just going to our website and looking at the courses and textbooks that we have available right now. It is everything there, and the link for that you will find in the show notes of today's episode. So just go and click and browse for whatever you need. I'm very curious. What are your thoughts? Let me know. And if you think that it was also interesting and you have someone that may benefit from this podcast episode, or it's just fun, send them, share with them, so that we can debunk this myth that Georgian is difficult. Thank you very much for today. See you in the next episode of the Caucasus podcast. Bye bye.